seemed like the more I asked him to stop, the more forceful he got. And before I knew it, my dress was torn and I was being raped and I was thrown out of the car.
The doctor looked at me and said, "Congratulations, you're pregnant." And I was only 17.
It seemed like the very worst thing that could happen to anyone. And it happened to me.
I told the boy first, and all he could say was, "I can't tell my parents. I can't tell my parents."
I couldn't believe I was pregnant. I just could not fit this into my life.
When I saw my daughter kicking and sucking her thumb and they gave me a picture, that's when I went home and actually believed I was pregnant.
I was trying to find a shirt that would hide my quickly growing stomach so that my mother and my friends would not know the fact that I was pregnant.
My mom, she almost fainted, and my dad, he couldn't say anything. He just looked shocked.
Her reaction to me was, "No, you're not going to have a baby. There's too many things that lie ahead of you. I have a lot of goals and a lot of dreams for you. You're only 17, so you are going to have an abortion."
It never even occurred to me, was it a child? Was it a baby? It was just, I don't want to be pregnant. And that's all that was in my face.
I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't married.
I've gotten myself into this situation. Now I will get myself out.
One part of me really wanted to have that baby. And another part of me would say, "You can't."
So I wanted to go in and have this abortion as cheaply as possible, as quickly as possible, and get on with it.
I totally denied that it was a baby. I didn't even think the word baby. All I knew was I was pregnant, and I didn't want to be pregnant.
I believed once it was over, I would be back to who I was before.
It was not a baby. It was not a child. It was just a mass of tissue that you just go in. It's not even formed. Just go in and have it taken out. There's no problem with that.
Okay, if I can't take care of the baby, somebody else can. But I wouldn't do that. You know, I was just too selfish to do that.
I thought this thing inside of me, it had no right to be there. I didn't ask it to be there. It made me angry. And I can remember walking around all day thinking, well, who is more important, this thing or me? And I thought me.
The way that I explained it to my dad was that I was going to a funeral that day, and so I couldn't, go to work.
You're sitting in the waiting room, and that whole time I was just frightened. I was terrified. My heart was going 100 miles an hour, and I didn't want to be there.
And I was there in this frame of mind of, this is what I have to do. It's my only choice.
I was 18 weeks pregnant with my baby and was told that I would have to have a saline abortion. The doctors told me that there was just nothing but a mass of tissue in my womb, and that later on in the evening after the procedure, I would deliver nothing but a mass of tissue.
Up to the very moment I had my abortion, I was trying to think of a way out, and there was just nobody there to help me.
You're going to go through with this. It's too late now to say no. You just got to go through with it.
They were trying to assure me that it was right, but in my heart, I knew it was wrong.
I can remember this like it was yesterday, sitting there and just deciding within myself, no, I got to go. And the minute it was just like my heart was pounding out of my chest, and at that very same split second, a voice said, "Carol, come this way."
I touched my stomach, and I said, "Please forgive me. Please forgive me for doing this."
Once they laid me down, I knew, no, I can't do this. I want to go. And they said, "No, you need to lay down." And I didn't want to. And they came with a shot and gave me a shot, told me that would calm me down. It didn't. It had just the reverse effect. So they strapped me down to this table.
I was on the table, and I grabbed my sister, and she held my hand, and
I guess I also cry for my sister because she had to witness such an awful thing.
I wanted to run. I felt like I was running, and yet I couldn't make my body go anywhere.
I remember I was crying because I was so afraid, and they were just cold.
I held on to my sister as tight as I could. And there was a sound that was incredible. It was like a 747 coming through the building. That's one thing that I do very much remember, is the sound of that vacuum thing starting.
You could hear pieces being suctioned. You could hear tissue. You could hear it.
It's a horrible sound.
I wanted to take my hands and put them over my ears, just so I couldn't hear anything.
It wasn't the way anybody said it was.
It felt like my whole lower body was being just completely sucked out of me.
The pinching, the pulling, the pain, I wasn't prepared for that.
I'm always amazed that they say that it's not painful, because it's very painful. I was screaming, I was hollering, I could feel it, and all I knew was that he was not concerned about me.
I could hear them doing an abortion on another girl, and she was crying out for her mom. And the nurse kept saying, "Be quiet, it's almost over."
I ultimately did stop screaming because I fainted.
I felt every part of the procedure, of the vacuum being in there and the suction and the scraping.
It seemed to me that it took a lot of effort for the doctor to get this out of me.
And I just thought, will this end? Will this end? Make this end.
The doctor showed no compassion. The nurses showed no compassion. They didn't care. I was in a lot of pain, and they didn't care.
This doctor was only interested in doing abortions. It was like women didn't matter to him.
Once you're up on that table, and once that machine turns on, and that tugging and pulling and ripping from your body is happening, there's no one there but you. You're alone.
The doctor told me that when my daughter would stop kicking, to then push the red button on the wall, and she kicked for over an hour. And that was the hardest part, was to push that red button, because then I knew it was over.
I delivered a perfectly formed baby into a bedpan, and I still remember so well the arms and the legs and the 10 fingers and the burned and reddened dead body of my baby.
It looked just like a little doll. It had a face, it had arms. I remember, the one thing I remember the most is seeing the rib cage, but its legs were gone.
And I looked at the nurse and I said, that is not tissue, that is a baby. I remember the nurse turning her back on me and walking out the door of the bathroom and leaving me there in horror and in shock almost at what I had just done.
This wasn't a blob, this wasn't a piece of tissue, this was an honest-to-God baby. This was a baby.
The doctor finally came up to where my head was, and he said to me, "I just wanted to let you know that you had twins." And at that point, I knew then that I had made a grave mistake, and I still feel very sad.
That was my baby. They just put it in the trash right in front of me.
She said, she goes, "I will never, ever go through that myself after witnessing that."
I remember when I got down, I could feel blood running down my legs.
That I just had to get out of there as quickly as I could.
The whole place all of a sudden just disgusted me.
I wanted to say, "Oh God, please let me back up and do it all over again." But it was too late.
Everyone pats you on the hand and tells you you did the right thing. And you go out the back door because they don't want anyone that's coming in to see what you look like when you're going out. You don't look the same.
And I felt like so distant, like I had no feelings left inside, like somebody tore my soul right out.
And I felt like everyone knew what I had done. and I could hardly face people. I couldn't look at people in the eyes.
Like, not only did they do an abortion on me, but there was definitely part of me gone.
I tried to do everything I could to stop remembering, but I never forgot.
It was not like a doctor's appointment. You walk in, you walk out, you forget. You walk in, you walk out, you remember for the rest of your life, and you're tormented for the rest of your life.
Every time I looked in the mirror, all I could see was a woman who had 2 abortions.
I connect the pain that this overwhelming misery, this deep sense of loss, this deep sense of loneliness with my abortion.
The abortions became so big in my life. It swallowed everything else up.
I would lay in bed at night and I would try to imagine how old those babies would be now and what they would look like and what their names would be, and just the loss that I had. I couldn't get it away. It was like, if only I could bring them back. And I thought maybe in my fantasies I could do that.
I did it. Mom and Dad don't know. My friends don't know. Nobody knows. It's over.
I could not have sat in a room where the word abortion was even mentioned without having to get up and leave.
I wanted nobody to talk about it. It was like a big taboo word. Nobody breathed it. Nobody talked about it. Nobody, if it came on the TV, I'd turn it.
On one hand, society says it's okay to kill your baby, but on the other hand, they don't want to hear about it. And when they do hear about it, then that puts a whole new light on you as a person.
If I told my friends or my relatives what I saw, what I felt, they would look at me and go, how in the world could you have done that?
I've done such a terrible thing. I have such a big secret. What will happen if somebody finds out?
Every time abortion was mentioned, I was just like frozen, and I couldn't speak. I could never tell anybody I had an abortion.
If it's so acceptable and it's so okay, then why is it such a secretive thing?
So I hid that. That was my dark secret that nobody knew. And I wouldn't tell anybody.
When I heard the word abortion, it reminded me of everything that I had gone through. I could hear the sound of that machine in my head. I felt the pain, the shame would come over me, the guilt. I would feel so unworthy.
People would come up to me and say, "Was this your first baby?" And I'd say, "Yes. Yes, it is." But I knew it wasn't.
It was imprisonment. That's the only way I can describe it. It was just, there was not a day that went by that I didn't think of it. And if I didn't think of it consciously, subconsciously it was always there. Always there.
It didn't really hit me in the face until someone showed me a film of the procedure of the abortion. And this little tiny child at 12 weeks, which is when I had my abortion, that's when it hit me. I killed a human being.
I just couldn't wait to look and see what my baby looked like. And I'm flipping through the pages, 11, 12 weeks. That's how far along I was. I was just so excited. And I opened it up to these pictures, and
they showed this beautiful picture of this baby in utero and the little fingers and toes, and, it's just so beautiful. And I was thinking, wow, this is great. This baby must be about ready to be born. And the little caption said, 11 weeks.
I was just shocked. I expected to see a blob of tissue.
I just kind of flashed back to my abortion. When I had that abortion, that's what the baby looked like. When they were literally tearing it limb from limb, that's what it looked like.
I kept looking at the pictures and realized what I had done. And I couldn't believe it. Because I was pregnant now with a child that I wanted more than anything in the world. Yet I had thrown my first child away.
I never knew how perfect that baby was when the doctor ripped it from my body.
That was a human being that I killed. That was my child that I decided to kill. It wasn't just a cluster of cells.
up until the moment I saw them throw my baby in the trash. That's when it really hit me.
I had a miscarriage when I was about 10 or 11 weeks along at home. And I was in the bathroom, and I held this miscarriage baby in my hand and realized that it wasn't just a clump of cells, that it was an actual human life that I had killed when I had an abortion.
Once you see reality, once you see the pictures, you can't deny it.
Women go in thinking it's going to be very simple, but how many women leave a clinic with baby parts still inside of them? It happens all the time. They get home and they find out that it wasn't a clean, neat procedure.
If you go in for heart surgery or for a hysterectomy or anything, they give you all the information. And women seeking abortions need to know that this is surgery, and it carries risks.
5 weeks after I had my abortion, I was still bleeding, and the bleeding grew heavier and heavier until I ended up in the emergency room because I'd lost so much blood that I couldn't stand up anymore. And the doctor in the emergency room told me that I was pregnant, that they hadn't gotten all of the baby during the abortion.
You're taking a big risk. You really, really are. Because there are a lot of women who, after an abortion, cannot have children anymore. And ones that I know, they regret it.
When I chose abortion, they never told me that I would be killing the only baby that I would ever conceive. I have never conceived another child since I had my abortion 23 years ago.
They don't tell you about all the risks, the dangers, the emotional trauma. They don't talk about it.
Maybe she's got an infection, maybe she's bleeding, maybe she's got a fever. Who does she call?
And when my abortion went wrong, my doctor abandoned me.
That clinic represented ice cold pain, and there's no way I would have gone back there.
Once the abortion has been performed, you know that that was a life that was taken from you. That no longer will be a cluster of cells. Never, ever again.
I knew when I saw a pregnant woman that that's a baby. There wasn't any question. I mean, you ask a child, what's in that tummy? And the child will say it's a baby.
I wish I would have known that at 18 days, my baby's heart was beating. At 3 weeks, they could pick up brain scans. It's amazing. I could have had an ultrasound done, and I could have seen a little picture of my child in the uterus. And at 13 weeks, when I had my abortion, that child would have been fully formed. Everything. But no one said that to me.
I wished and prayed that I would have given my baby a life. Because that was his right to live. I had no right to choose life or death for my son.
It's a decision for a lifetime. You can't go back. And you can never take the memory away.
I justified having my abortion for all these reasons. No education, no money. I wasn't in love with that person. And what I have done is I have committed a murder. I've murdered my own child. And
to live with the consequence of knowing you did something to another innocent human being, you killed them before they even had a chance to breathe air, that's something you have to live with, and there's no dealing with it.
I will grow old, and I will never have children that will call me Mom. I will never have grandchildren that will call me Grandma.
And it's going to be lonely because of one choice.
How do you make the pain go away? They don't give you answers for that.
I always wonder what my life would be like, what my life would have been like had I been brave and kept that child and made the right choices.
You'd think after all those years you would stop thinking about something, but it doesn't go away. Abortion never goes away.
It still hurts when you see a baby. You know, a brand new newborn, and you know that what you killed was just a little bit smaller.
How do you stop hating yourself? They don't have an easy answer for that. So there's a lot of things that they don't tell you.
What can you live with? Can you live with day-to-day sorrow that you killed a child? I mean, can you live with that?
They will always know that they took the life of their child.
Whether you believe it or not now, you're going to have to live with that decision for the rest of your life.
Nothing will prepare you for how it will feel, because it's not supposed to happen.
Whatever circumstance you go through in caring for this child or putting it up for adoption, whatever emotional hardship that is nothing compared to what you would have to deal with if you had an abortion.
It seems like the world is taken off your shoulders if you make that decision. But trust me, I'm one of the strongest women you could meet. It sticks with you. And it will surface somehow, some way. It will come back. I can't lie to you. It's going to come back.
Don't buy into what the world is telling you, that abortion doesn't affect you and that it isn't a baby that you're killing.
And that's the last person you should blame, is the person inside of you. And it's the last person you should take it out on. And it's the last person that should die for one of your mistakes. Let him live.
You can do this. You can have this child, and you can make good choices, and you can be proud of yourself.
And now I want that secret to be told, to save somebody else from ever making that type of secret for themselves, because it's not worth a secret to carry around for the rest of your life. It's not a good secret. So if I can save somebody from feeling that, I'd be happy.